In my playbook tonight, President Obama ran his first big play at the United Nations today with a speech at the General Assembly. The president called for unity and cooperation among nations, and he also made it clear that there was a new guy in the White House.
I have been in office for just 9 months. The time has come for the world to move in a new direction. In Iraq, we are responsibly ending a war. We have also re-engaged the United Nations. We have paid our bills. The old habits, the old arguments are irrelevant to the challenges faced by our people. The United States stands ready to begin a new chapter of international cooperation.
Let me bring in Mr. James Rubin, adjunct professor, Columbia University, and former Assistant Secretary of State of the Clinton administration. Great to have you with us tonight.
Good to be with you, Ed.
The olive branches, they're all over the place today. Is that a good interpretation?
Well, absolutely. This speech was President Obama's opportunity to show the ways in which things have changed. We now have a president who's supporting international law, who believes in treaties to pursue arms control and non-proliferation. Someone who wants to be a leader rather than stay out of the climate change problem. Someone who has changed our policy on prisoners and torture. So he's taken all these things that he's done over the last 9 months that were things that the rest of the world criticized America for under President Bush and said, okay, the changes have come. We've moved in the direction that many of you wanted. But now, and this is where he's trying, I think, to get some more support from the rest of the world. Okay, we've made these changes, but now all of you can't expect us to solve the world's problems. You have to contribute. You have to do your part, whether it's climate change, seeing China and some of the other countries make their contribution, whether it's non-proliferation, getting Russia and China to agree to punish those who won't abide by the non-proliferation treaty. So he was cataloging all the ways in which this presidency is in sync with the rest of the world, but saying now we need all of you to do your part.
And the president addressed North Korea and Iran. Here it is.
The governments of Iran and North Korea choose to ignore international standards. If they put the pursuit of nuclear weapons ahead of regional stability and the security and opportunity of their own people, if they are oblivious to the dangers of escalating nuclear arms races in both East Asia and the Middle East, then they must be held accountable. The world must stand together to demonstrate that international law is not an empty promise.
Mr. Rubin, what's that mean? Must be held accountable.
Well, I think in this case what he's talking about are the consultations that have begun and will come to a head soon on Iran. And that is whether China, Russia, some of our friends in Europe, other countries are going to realize that if Iran won't stop its enrichment or come to an agreement about nuclear enrichment activities, then there must be a price to be paid. I think hold accountable is sanctions. And his, Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, has said crippling sanctions. But China and Russia so far have been reluctant to do that. Today we had a little hint from the Russian president that they wouldn't rule out sanctions. But I think it's going to be a long, long, hard slog to get those countries to support us.
And what about Mr. Gaddafi? A 96-minute speech, rambled a lot. He did refer to the President of the United States as our son. I mean, was that a strategic move to maybe make some opposition in this country nervous about the president?
That speech was, for people who followed the UN, they've told me they've never seen anything like it in 30, 40 years. I mean, he had the Kennedy assassination in there. He had, conspiracy theories about 9/11, the whole package of, I guess you'd have to say, unusual diplomatic views.
Looked to me like he had a lot of bar notes on him. He kept pulling out these bar notes like and stuff. And this thing.
Well, it's a strange thing. I live in New York, and New Yorkers can't decide sometimes whether they want to be the capital of the world and like the UN here, or they want to be able to, complain about the UN diplomats. The fact is, this guy lives in a tent, and now some people in New York are trying to prevent him from putting it up. Whenever you're dealing with Muammar Gaddafi, you're going to have some loony aspects.
No doubt. James Rubin, good to have you with us.